you wouldn't have survived a week. Not because you were weak, not because you lacked discipline or courage, but because the place itself was designed to break you, slowly, silently, and without warning. In Vietnam, the war did not begin with gunfire. It began the moment you stepped into the jungle. Before you ever saw the enemy, before a single shot echoed through the trees, something else had already begun hunting you. The air, the ground, the water, even your own body. Everything turned against you. This was a war where the battlefield was alive. The jungle was not just terrain. It was an ecosystem engineered by nature to consume anything that entered it. It rose in layers, a triple canopy so dense that it blocked out the sky itself. Towering trees stretched hundreds of feet upward, forming a ceiling that swallowed sunlight. Beneath them, another layer of interlocking branches created a thick barrier, sealing off the world above. And below that, at ground level, where you stood, there was only darkness, choked with bamboo, vines, thorns, and decay. Only a fraction of sunlight reached the forest floor. At midday, in the middle of the tropics, you could barely see more than a few meters ahead. The air felt heavy, unmoving. Every shadow looked alive. You could hear movement, branches shifting, leaves rustling, but you couldn't see what caused it. The enemy could stand just a few steps away, watching you, studying you, and you would never know. Even technology failed here. Radios struggled to function through the dense vegetation and constant moisture. Signals broke apart. Communication faded. Smoke signals, meant to guide rescue helicopters, disappeared before they could rise above the canopy. You could be surrounded by your own unit and still feel completely isolated. And then there was the heat. Temperatures climbed relentlessly, often surpassing 100 degrees Fahrenheit, while humidity hovered at suffocating levels. Sweat never evaporated. Your uniform stayed soaked, clinging to your skin, adding weight to every movement. Every step became a struggle. Every breath felt thick, as if the air itself resisted you. You carried everything with you: equipment, ammunition, food, water, often weighing close to 100 pounds. Moving through the jungle wasn't walking. It was forcing your body through resistance. Progress slowed to a crawl. Sometimes an entire day's movement measured only a few hundred meters. Men at the front collapsed regularly from exhaustion. They hacked through vines and branches, clearing paths inch by inch, only to be replaced moments later when their bodies gave out. It wasn't uncommon for soldiers to feel that crawling would have been faster than trying to walk, and the ground beneath you was never safe. In some regions, the earth disappeared entirely beneath water. The Mekong Delta became a vast flooded landscape where your feet remained submerged for days. Skin softened, blistered, split, and rotted. What started as discomfort turned into infection. What started as infection turned into incapacitation. Elsewhere, the land rose into steep, forested mountains, where visibility dropped even further, and air support became unreliable. Fog rolled in constantly, blocking aircraft and isolating units. You weren't just fighting an enemy. You were cut off from everything meant to support you. But the terrain was only the beginning. The real danger often entered your body without warning. Disease dominated the war in a way no weapon could. Nearly 70% of hospitalizations came not from combat, but from illness. The jungle infected you through every possible pathway. The air carried malaria. The water carried parasites. The environment itself became a delivery system for sickness. Malaria spread rapidly, infecting tens of thousands. Preventative medications existed, but the dominant strain resisted treatment. Soldiers took their pills, followed protocol, and still fell ill. And malaria was only one part of it. Skin infections thrived in constant moisture. Jungle rot ate away at flesh. Bacterial and fungal infections spread across legs and feet, turning minor irritations into serious medical conditions. Hepatitis spread silently. Digestive diseases drained strength and hydration. Some parasites did not leave when you did. They stayed inside the body, sometimes for decades, waiting. Years after the war ended, infections acquired in the jungle began to surface, causing severe illness long after soldiers had returned home. The jungle did not just fight you in the moment. It marked you permanently. And then there were the animals. The jungle was full of life, but not the kind that welcomed you. Snakes moved through trees and undergrowth, many carrying venom capable of killing if untreated. Some struck without warning, disappearing before you even understood what had happened. Others coiled silently in places you thought were safe, inside boots, near sleeping areas, hidden in shadows. Leeches were everywhere. They clung to your skin, feeding unnoticed until you felt the blood. They crawled into places you never expected, turning even the most basic human functions into risks. Insects attacked in waves. Ants swarmed from trees, covering anything that disturbed their nests. Centipedes and scorpions hid in gear and bedding. Every creature seemed to carry the potential for pain, infection, or worse. Larger predators were not absent. Crocodiles moved through waterways. Tigers hunted in the same terrain soldiers patrolled. There were moments when it became clear. You were not the dominant presence here. You were prey. But even all of this, the disease, the animals, the environment, was not the worst part. Because the ground itself had been turned into a weapon. The enemy understood the jungle in a way outsiders never could. They didn't fight against it. They used it. They transformed the terrain into a network of traps designed not just to kill, but to break the human mind. Every step became a gamble. Hidden beneath leaves and soil were sharpened stakes, positioned to impale anyone who stepped in the wrong place. These traps were not always meant to kill. They were meant to wound, to slow movement, to create fear, to force hesitation. And that fear was constant. You could not walk normally. Every step required caution. Every movement carried uncertainty. Over time, that uncertainty became psychological weight, an invisible pressure that never lifted. Explosive traps added another layer. Tripwires stretched across paths, connected to grenades or hidden devices. Sometimes there was no warning at all. The explosion itself became the first sign that something was wrong. Detection was unreliable. Many traps could only be found after they had already been triggered. The idea that more than half of these devices were discovered only upon detonation changed how soldiers moved, thought, and reacted. The jungle had turned into something unpredictable, something uncontrollable. And beneath all of it, there was another world. A hidden network stretched underground, tunnels carved into the earth, connecting entire systems beneath the jungle floor. These passages housed everything: living spaces, supply areas, command centers. They allowed movement, concealment, and survival in ways that surface forces could not match. For those who entered them, the experience was something else entirely. Narrow spaces, complete darkness, limited air. Every inch carried the possibility of traps, enemies, or worse. It was not just physically dangerous, it was mentally overwhelming. Fear existed in a concentrated form, amplified by the claustrophobic environment. And even if you survived all of that, your job was not finished. You still had to function as a soldier. You carried your equipment through all of this. weapons, ammunition, water, food, everything added weight. That weight never went away. It pressed down on your shoulders, your back, your legs, hour after hour, day after day. Sleep was limited. Nights were divided into shifts, keeping constant watch. Rest came in fragments, never fully enough. Exhaustion became normal. Water was essential, but even that came with consequences. Purification methods made it barely drinkable. Drinking enough often meant dealing with side effects that weakened you further. Food existed, but it was functional, not comforting. Meals were consumed out of necessity, not enjoyment. Time itself became something to endure. Rotations were fixed. You knew when you would leave, but that knowledge did not bring comfort. Instead, it created a countdown, each day marked, each step bringing you closer to the end, while also reminding you how much remained. And the structure of the system ensured instability. Soldiers rotated individually, not as units. New arrivals replaced experienced ones constantly. Bonds were fragile. Loss was frequent. Detachment became a form of protection. Because statistically, many would not make it. And those who did carried something back with them. The war did not end when they left. The jungle had already done its work, physically, mentally, and sometimes permanently. It left behind infections, memories, and experiences that could not simply be forgotten. In the end, this was not just a war between armies. It was a conflict between humans and an environment that refused to be conquered. The ground, the air, the water, the vegetation, they all played a role. Every element contributed. Every step required effort. Every moment demanded awareness. The jungle did not care who you were, where you came from, or why you were there. It treated everyone the same, and it always collected its price.